4 and 5 was a quiet world, bathed in the soft blue glow of its distant sun. From space it looked peaceful, almost untouched, with shimmering oceans and vast forests stretching over rolling hills. But beneath this calm surface the planet carried scars of 1,000 battles. Cities lay in ruins. Farms were abandoned, and the air was thick with the memories of countless conflicts. The Voronites, the planet's small, delicate inhabitants, had survived here for generations, their civilization fragile and often threatened by marauders and warlords from neighboring systems. In the capital city of Lumeria, the Voronites moved hurriedly through the streets, their translucent skin glimmering under the twin moons. They were a gentle species, small in size but clever in mind. Their hands were nimble, perfect for crafting tools and delicate machines, but not built for heavy combat. The Voronites had long relied on diplomacy and stealth to survive. Yet, for the first time in memory, they faced a threat they could not talk or reason with. High above the city, in the observation tower, Chief Scientist Leora watched the approaching fleet with wide, anxious eyes. The alien ships were massive, their hulls glinting like black shards of metal in the sunlight. She could see hundreds of smaller attack craft swarming around the larger vessels, like ants circling a fallen leaf. The Voronites had never encountered an armada of this size before, and the realization filled Leora with dread. "They're coming faster than we thought," she murmured to herself, her voice barely audible over the hum of the tower's systems. "If they reach the surface in a few hours, our cities won't stand a chance." Beside her, her assistant Terran adjusted the magnification on the observation panel. "Leora," he said, "we have to activate the beacon. There is no other choice." Leora nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. The beacon was ancient, a relic from a time when the galaxy was young and humans still roamed the stars. No Voronite had ever seen it in action, though legends spoke of its power. The device was buried deep beneath the planet's surface, hidden in a labyrinth of tunnels beneath the capital. It was said that the beacon could summon the human war giants, legendary defenders of the galaxy, beings whose strength and courage were unmatched. But that was long ago in stories told to children. No one had expected the stories to be real, until now. Terran's eyes were wide, a mix of fear and hope shining in them. "Do you think they will come?" he asked. Leora hesitated. She had studied the beacon for decades, learning its secrets, but even she could not predict if it would work. "They will," she said finally, with a firmness she did not feel. "If the legends are true, they will come when we call." The journey to the beacon chamber was perilous. The tunnels were narrow and winding, filled with ancient machinery that had not been used in centuries. Leora and Terran moved quickly, their small frames slipping past mechanical arms and glowing conduits that hummed with dormant energy. The walls were covered with carvings, inscriptions left by Voronite ancestors, warning of the day the human giants might be needed again. At last, they reached the central chamber. The beacon was enormous, a towering structure of gleaming metal and crystals that pulsed faintly with a soft blue light. In its center rested a large sphere, etched with complex symbols that no Voronite could fully understand. The sphere rotated slowly, waiting, as if aware that the moment of awakening had come. Leora approached the control panel, her hands trembling slightly. "It's time," she said, pressing the first sequence of activation keys. The room filled with a soft hum, then a low vibration that traveled through the tunnels and into the very ground beneath the city. Terran watched as the sphere began to glow brighter, the symbols shimmering in golden light. "Do you feel that?" he whispered. "It's alive." "Yes," Leora replied. "It's calling them." Outside, the skies above Voron 5 began to change. Dark clouds swirled unnaturally, as though responding to the signal. Lightning crackled in patterns that seemed almost deliberate, tracing lines from the heavens down toward the beacon. Across the planet, sensors picked up faint pulses, signals traveling faster than any known technology. Something ancient had awakened, something powerful beyond imagination. In the depths of space, the signal traveled, leaping from star to star, across light years of emptiness. It pierced the darkness, carried on waves that no ordinary vessel could detect. And far away, in a distant solar system, the message reached its destination. Within enormous stasis chambers, hidden in the core of a human research facility, the human war giants began to stir. Each chamber contained a human figure, vast in size, their bodies fused with advanced machinery. They were warriors of legend, created in an era when humans defended countless worlds from invasion. Their forms were both human and machine, engineered for battle yet endowed with intelligence, empathy, and courage. Lights blinked across the chambers, and a low hum filled the room as dormant systems came online. Slowly the giant's eyes opened, revealing a spark of life within the metallic frames. They rose to their full height, stretching limbs that had not moved in centuries. Though they had been asleep for ages, their minds were sharp and their memories flowed like a river through their consciousness. They remembered the stories, the battles, the victories, and the countless times humans had risen against impossible odds. One of the giants, known as Commander Alaric, lifted a hand to the glowing panel in front of him. "Signal detected," he said, his voice deep and commanding. "SOS from Voron 5. Planet in danger." The other giants activated their systems, their movements precise and coordinated. Armor plates slid into place, energy cores ignited, and weapons calibrated automatically. They had been built for war, yet their creators had ensured they retained the human mind, capable of reasoning and understanding. As they prepared for launch, a sense of purpose filled them. This was no mere battle. They were answering a call for help, a chance to defend the innocent and restore hope. Back on Voron 5, the Voronites watched the sky with a mix of awe and disbelief. They did not know exactly what was coming, only that the beacon's call had been answered. Across the city, children pressed their faces to windows, staring in wonder as distant lights appeared in the sky, moving faster than anything they had ever seen. The air was filled with a sense of anticipation, a thrill of hope that the legends had promised. Leora turned to Taryn, her voice barely above a whisper. "Prepare the city defenses," she said. "Even with them coming, we must be ready." Taryn nodded, his hands already moving over control panels, activating shields and emergency protocols. Though the humans were legendary, the Voronites knew the approaching fleet would not hesitate to strike with full force. The battle was coming, and every moment mattered. As the first lights of the giants appeared above the horizon, the Voronites could see them clearly now, towering figures of metal and muscle moving with purpose and confidence. The ground trembled with each step they took, yet there was something more than power in their presence. There was intelligence, courage, and a quiet nobility that filled the hearts of those who watched. "They are real," whispered Taryn, his eyes shining. "The human war giants? They are really coming." Leora nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and awe. "Yes," she said, "and they will save us." The sky above Voron 5 began to light up with the approach of the giants, and far below, the Voronites prepared themselves for the battle that would decide the fate of their world. The legends had spoken of hope, courage, and the strength of humanity. Today, that legend was about to step from myth into reality, and the silent planet would never be the same again. Far from the silent surface of Voron 5 and the cold emptiness of space, the human war giants stirred in their slumber chambers. The SOS signal had reached them, cutting through light years like a beacon of hope, and it was enough to awaken these ancient guardians. The chambers, massive and cylindrical, were lined with technology that pulsed with quiet energy. Inside, the giants, part human, part machine, began to move, their systems coming online one by one. Commander Alaric, the leader of the giants, was the first to rise. His eyes glowed a soft blue as the ancient AI within him processed the incoming information. "SOS from Voron 5 confirmed," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "Planet under threat. Time to awaken fully." Other giants followed, their movements smooth but deliberate. They were enormous, towering over most buildings, yet they moved with a grace that belied their size. Their mechanical exoskeletons flexed and hummed as energy coursed through their circuits. These were no ordinary machines. They were humans enhanced, warriors designed not only for strength but for thought, strategy, and courage. Each giant ran diagnostic checks as they emerged from their stasis. Energy shields calibrated, weapon systems powered up, and communication networks linked together. The facility itself seemed to awaken with them. Lights blinked on across the control panels, and the quiet hum of the chambers became a chorus of life. Centuries of slumber had not dulled their efficiency or intelligence. If anything, the long rest had preserved them, keeping every skill, every memory intact. "Status report," Alaric demanded. Giant Ileana, the strategist of the group, stepped forward. All systems functional. Weaponry operational. Propulsion systems ready for planetary descent. Good, Alaric replied. Prepare for jump. The Voronites need us and time is short. Outside, the vastness of space stretched endlessly. Stars twinkled like distant lanterns, and nebulae painted the darkness with streaks of color. But the giants had no time to admire the beauty. A threat loomed closer with every passing moment, and their purpose was clear. Defend the innocent no matter the odds. As they moved toward their deployment bays, Alaric addressed the group. Remember, we are more than machines. We are humans. We fight not only with strength but with mind and heart. That is what makes us unique. That is why we will succeed. The giants activated their propulsion systems. Enormous engines roared to life, shaking the facility with raw energy. Panels glowed red with heat. Vents expelled steam and plasma, and slowly they lifted from their chambers. One by one, they moved toward the hangar doors. Each step deliberate, echoing through the vast corridors like distant thunder. When the doors opened, the vacuum of space stretched before them, infinite and cold. Yet the giants were undeterred. They were built for this environment, able to withstand radiation, zero gravity, and extreme temperatures. With powerful jets firing, they launched into the void, leaving behind the place of their long rest. Their destination, Voron 5. As they approached the planet, the SOS signal became stronger. It was a pulse, rhythmic and insistent, a call for help that resonated deep within the giants' circuits. They could sense the fear and hope of the Voronites, a species small in stature but large in heart. The giants had faced countless enemies, but they had never ignored a call for help. It was a principle written into their very design. Where there is need, there will be human strength. Commander Alaric scanned the planet below. The surface was a mixture of blue oceans, green forests, and crumbling cities. Smoke rose from several regions, evidence of attacks from the approaching marauder fleet. Tiny Voronite ships darted through the skies, their weapons firing, but they were no match for the invading armada. Alaric turned to the other giants. We land near the capital. We cannot allow the marauders to destroy the city. A direct approach. Minimal civilian risk. Understand? All understood, Eliana responded. They began their descent, each step carefully calculated. Jet boosters flared, and with every touch of their feet on the planet's surface, the ground trembled. Trees bent and small creatures scuttled away, sensing the presence of these enormous beings. But the Voronites, watching from safe vantage points, felt awe instead of fear. They had summoned legends, and now those legends walked among them. The marauder fleet, however, had noticed the incoming giants. The alien commanders, assuming they faced ordinary defenders, laughed at the sight of the towering humanoid figures. They are mere relics, one marauder said, its voice harsh and metallic. We will crush them before they can even touch the surface. But the giants were not relics. They were warriors honed by centuries of human ingenuity and battle experience. Alaric moved forward first, his steps shaking the enemy ships as he advanced. Energy shields flared around him, repelling the first volleys of laser fire. Mechanical fists smashed through enemy crafts as if they were toys, sending shards of metal and sparks scattering across the battlefield. The marauders soon realized their mistake. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were thinking, strategic combatants able to anticipate attacks and counter them with precision. Alaric signaled to the other giants, and together they moved in coordinated formations, using both brute force and tactical genius. Eliana identified a group of marauder warships attempting to flank the capital. "Commander," she called, "we have enemy ships moving to cut off civilians. Shall we intercept?" "Immediately," Alaric replied. "Protect the innocent first. Neutralize the threat second." The giants surged forward. One swung a massive fist, sending a ship spiraling into space, while another deployed energy nets that captured and disabled multiple smaller crafts. They moved with synchronization that no enemy could match, each action purposeful and precise. Every strike was designed to save lives, not merely to destroy. Below, the Voronites watched in wonder. Their fear had turned into hope. Children pointed at the sky, eyes wide with excitement. Farmers paused their work to look up in disbelief. Entire communities realized that the legends of the human war giants were not myths. They were reality. As the battle raged, the giants' presence began to change the morale of the Voronites. Small squads of citizens began assisting where they could, repairing shields, guiding civilians, and even using the lessons learned from past conflicts to avoid danger. They were inspired by the humans' courage, learning quickly that bravery and intelligence could save lives. Meanwhile, Commander Alaric scanned the skies for the main Marauder fleet. "They think they can overwhelm us with numbers," he said, his tone calm but firm. "We will show them that human strategy and courage are far stronger than raw power." The giants moved with increasing precision, anticipating enemy maneuvers, creating barriers, and striking at weak points. Each Marauder attack was met with a counter, each strategy outwitted by human ingenuity. Even the most advanced alien technology could not match the combination of intelligence, speed, and human creativity that the giants displayed. As the first wave of Marauder ships began to retreat, Alaric looked down at the city below. Buildings were damaged, but the Voronites were safe and the capital still stood. "We have shown them what humans are capable of," he said. "But this is only the beginning. The planet is not yet secure, and the enemy will return with greater force." Ileana nodded, scanning the horizon. "Agreed. We must continue to protect the people and prepare them for what is coming." For the Voronites, the arrival of the human war giants was more than a rescue. It was a lesson. They saw that courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. They realized that intelligence and creativity were as important as strength. And most importantly, they understood that hope could be found even in the darkest moments. As long as there were humans willing to fight for it, the giants stood tall on the surface, their eyes scanning the skies and the lands beyond. They were warriors, yes, but also guardians. Their purpose was clear: to protect the innocent and uphold justice no matter the cost. And as the sun dipped lower on Voron 5, casting long shadows of these towering defenders across the city, the planet finally felt a sense of safety it had not known in generations. The legends were alive. The human war giants had awakened, and the story of courage, strategy, and heroism was just beginning. The first rays of Voron 5's sun barely touched the horizon when the human war giants reached the atmosphere. Their descent was breathtaking, an awe-inspiring display of power and precision. Each footfall sent tremors through the planet's surface, bending trees and shaking the ground beneath the city of Lumeria. The Voronites watched from safe vantage points, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and hope. The legends had spoken of these giants, but nothing in their history could have prepared them for this sight. Commander Alaric led the landing, moving with calm authority. His armor gleamed under the morning sun, a combination of polished metal and advanced human design. Energy shields hummed softly around him, ready to absorb the first strikes of the enemy. One by one, the other giants touched down, their massive forms casting long shadows across the valley. Each carried a presence of both strength and intelligence, a combination that radiated confidence to those who looked upon them. Below, the Marauder fleet had begun its approach. Hundreds of sleek black ships hovered menacingly in the sky, their weapons already charging with energy. The alien commanders underestimated the giants at first, believing them to be relics of an old war, incapable of significant action. But as the first giant moved forward, smashing a hovering attack craft with a single mechanical fist, their arrogance evaporated. "Commander Alaric," Ileana said through the communications network, "the Marauders are regrouping for a full assault. They will target the city next. Then we shall meet them head-on," Alaric replied. "We protect the innocent first. Everything else comes second." The first clash began near the outskirts of the city. Marauder fighter ships dived toward the giants, their energy beams streaking through the sky. The giants reacted instantly. One raised a shield of shimmering energy, deflecting a volley of lasers that would have destroyed an entire block of buildings. Another swung a massive arm, knocking several ships into one another. Sparks and metal fragments rained down like shooting stars as the battle erupted. The Voronites below were frozen in awe. They had never seen anything like this. Buildings shook, yet no civilians were harmed. The giants moved not recklessly but with purpose, protecting the people while neutralizing the enemy. Children pointed and whispered excitedly. Farmers and workers paused their tasks, simply watching the spectacle of heroes in action. For the first time in generations, the people felt a surge of hope. Despite their fearsome technology, the Marauders were not prepared for the giants' intelligence. The aliens launched coordinated attacks, attempting to overwhelm their opponents with numbers, but the giants countered with strategy and ingenuity. Alaric studied their movements, anticipating patterns in the enemy's formations. With a signal, he directed Ileana to target weak points in the marauder ship's hulls, causing explosions that scattered the attackers. One giant, named Ronan, leapt onto the back of a large marauder carrier, using his strength and precision to disable its engines. Another deployed a web of energy barriers that captured multiple smaller ships, effectively removing them from the fight without causing unnecessary destruction. Every action was calculated, every movement deliberate. Below the battlefield, Voronite engineers began assisting where they could. Using small drones and repair tools, they helped maintain the city's defenses and guided civilians to safe zones. Inspired by the giants' courage, the Voronites began to believe that they could play a role in defending their home. Even the smallest contribution mattered. The giants had awakened something within them, a spark of courage that had lain dormant for generations. The marauders, realizing their attacks were failing, escalated their assault. They brought out massive siege machines, vehicles of terrifying size bristling with weapons. The aliens believed sheer force could overwhelm the giants, but the humans were ready. Alaric signaled for a coordinated strike. With precise timing, the giants surrounded the machines, using their strength and energy weapons to disable them. Metal twisted and groaned as the alien machines were torn apart, yet no Voronite structures were damaged. "Commander," Ileana said, observing the retreating forces. "They are beginning to falter. Their formation is breaking." "Good," Alaric replied, eyes scanning the sky. "We must continue to press the advantage. We cannot allow them to regroup." The battle shifted as the marauder fleet attempted a direct assault on the city. Energy beams lashed out, striking buildings and forcing civilians into shelters. Alaric did not hesitate. He lifted a massive fist and created a shockwave that sent the leading ships spinning into space. Ronan and two other giants leapt into the enemy formation, dismantling the ships with unmatched precision. Explosions lit up the sky, yet the giants' coordination ensured the city remained largely unharmed. As the fight continued, the Voronites realized that the human war giants were not only warriors, they were protectors. Each action considered, each move purposeful. The aliens attacked with chaos and power, but the humans countered with intelligence and care. It was not brute force alone that won the battle, but strategy, courage, and unity. At one point, Alaric noticed a marauder vessel attempting a surprise attack from behind. With a swift signal, he directed Ronan and Ileana to intercept. They moved like shadows, cutting off the enemy before it could reach the city. The marauders were astonished. No ordinary defenders could predict such maneuvers. Humans were different. They adapted, improvised, and acted with foresight that surpassed even the most advanced alien tactics. Meanwhile, the Voronites on the ground began learning from the giants. Some engineers operated shield generators under guidance, while scouts relayed enemy positions. The Voronites were small and fragile compared to the marauders, yet with the giants leading, they became part of the defense. The lesson was clear. Courage was not about size or strength, it was about intelligence, cooperation, and the willingness to act when needed. As the battle reached its climax, the marauder fleet began to retreat, regrouping for another assault. The giants stood tall, their energy shields flickering but intact. Alaric looked down at the city, seeing the Voronites emerging from their shelters, faces filled with relief and wonder. They had witnessed power beyond imagination, yes, but also compassion, care, and guidance. The humans had not destroyed recklessly. They had protected and inspired. "This is only the beginning," Alaric said, addressing the group. "The marauders will return, but we have shown them the strength of humans, and the Voronites now know they can stand with us." Ileana nodded. "We have inspired hope. That is as important as any victory today." Ronan, scanning the horizon, added, "And we have taught them that courage and intelligence together are unbeatable. That is a lesson the galaxy must never forget." As the marauders retreated, the sky above Voron 5 began to clear. Smoke still rose from scattered fires, but the city of Lumeria stood tall. The Voronites stepped out into the streets, slowly at first, then with growing confidence. They approached the giants cautiously, still in awe of their enormous size, yet no longer afraid. The legends had proven true. The human war giants were not just stories, they were real. and they were here to protect. Alaric surveyed the city one last time before signaling the giants to move toward the remaining enemy forces. "Stay alert," he said. "The battle is not yet over. But today we have shown what humans are capable of: courage, strategy, and protection of the innocent. That is our greatest power." The Voronites watched silently, absorbing the sight of these towering defenders. Children mimicked the giants' movements, running across fields, pretending to strike and defend. Farmers spoke in hushed tones of what they had seen, knowing that the legends of old were no longer just stories, they were a reality, alive and moving among them. As the sun rose higher over Voron 5, its light reflecting off the giants' gleaming armor, the planet felt a sense of security it had not known for generations. The battle had begun, yes, but the human war giants had arrived. And with their arrival, hope had returned. The silent planet was no longer silent, for the giants' footsteps, though massive and thunderous, were a promise. Humans would protect those in need, no matter the danger. The battle over Voron 5 had shifted. The marauders had been pushed back, but their retreat was only temporary. Across the planet, smoke still drifted from shattered fields and damaged buildings, reminders that victory was never complete in war. The Voronites had survived the first assault thanks to the human war giants, yet they knew this was only the beginning. Commander Alaric surveyed the battlefield from the highest hill near the capital. The city of Lumeria sprawled below, buildings damaged but intact, streets filled with citizens emerging cautiously from shelters. The marauder fleet had retreated beyond the planet's atmosphere, regrouping for another strike. Alaric's eyes narrowed. "They will return," he said calmly, "and next time they will bring greater force." Aliana, the strategist giant, joined him, her movements precise and careful. "We need to anticipate their next move. They think brute strength is enough, but they do not understand strategy." "Then we will show them," Alaric replied. "Humans do not rely on brute force alone. We use intelligence, creativity, and adaptability. That is our edge." The giants began to coordinate a defense plan. Each movement, each formation was carefully calculated. They studied the marauders' attack patterns from the first assault, predicting their likely approach routes and weak points. Ronan, the giant specializing in rapid strikes, suggested creating decoy targets to lure enemy ships into traps. "They will attack what seems vulnerable," he said, "but we will control the battlefield." While the giants prepared, the Voronites moved cautiously through the city. Inspired by the humans' courage, engineers repaired shield generators and guided civilians to safe zones. Scouts climbed towers and relayed enemy positions to the giants. Children and adults alike worked together, learning from the human war giants how to act with purpose and intelligence in dangerous situations. Alaric activated a holographic map of the city and surrounding lands. Points of energy, representing enemy positions, flickered across the display. "They will strike from orbit, then attempt ground assaults," he said. "We must control both." The giants split into squads, each assigned a specific task. Some remained to protect the city directly, using their immense strength and shields to block enemy fire. Others prepared traps and ambush points for approaching marauder troops. The human edge was not just strength, it was preparation, foresight, and teaching others to fight smarter. Hours passed. As the marauders approached once more, the Voronites saw the difference immediately. The streets were lined with protective barriers, civilians were guided efficiently to safe zones, and energy shields hummed, maintained by Voronite engineers under the guidance of the giants. The planet was no longer defenseless. The first wave of marauder ships entered the atmosphere. Energy beams cut through the air, but this time the giants were ready. Aliana signaled Ronan and two other giants to intercept, while Alaric moved toward the city's outskirts to form a protective barrier. The fight began with precision. Ships that had previously wreaked havoc were now caught in traps, intercepted mid-flight by coordinated attacks from the giants. Massive shockwaves sent enemy craft spinning harmlessly into the sky. Marauder soldiers on the ground found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn, the humans anticipating each attack with uncanny foresight. One marauder commander, frustrated by repeated failures, deployed a massive siege engine towering over all, its weapons charged with energy capable of flattening city blocks. Alaric studied it, analyzing the patterns in its movement. "It relies on predictable power surges," he said. "We can use that against it." The giants coordinated a precise strike. Energy beams targeted the engine's joints while mechanical fists delivered crushing blows at weak points. Sparks and debris flew as the Marauder machine faltered, then collapsed. The Vorianites cheered from below, astonished by the giant's ingenuity. They had never imagined that intelligence could amplify strength so dramatically. During the battle, the Vorianites themselves began to contribute more actively. Scouts guided giants through the city, identifying areas where Marauder forces were attempting to infiltrate. Engineers repaired damaged barriers and redirected energy from shields to critical points. The Vorianites learned quickly, absorbing lessons from the humans in real time. Their small size and nimble movements complemented the giants' immense power. Together, they became a formidable team. Alaric addressed the group. Do not underestimate the value of intelligence and teamwork. Even the smallest actions can change the course of battle. Humans fight not just with strength, but with heart and mind. And now, so do the Vorianites, the Marauders, realizing that brute force alone was insufficient, attempted to overwhelm the planet with a new weapon, a series of drones designed to disable all defensive systems. They unleashed them in swarms, each drone moving faster than anything the Vorianites had seen, but the giants anticipated the attack. Using coordinated energy barriers and precise strikes, they neutralized the drones efficiently. Ronan leapt through the swarm, dismantling the drones with speed and skill, while Eliana created energy nets that captured multiple drones at once. The Vorianites watched, inspired not only by the giants' strength but also by their strategy. They began to see patterns, learning how to anticipate danger and act decisively. A small group of engineers even suggested ways to enhance the energy barriers temporarily, a plan approved and implemented by Alaric. Human ingenuity had sparked creativity in the Vorianites, proving that courage and intelligence could spread. By midday, the first major assault had been repelled. The Marauders, stunned by the organized resistance, retreated beyond the planet's atmosphere once more. The giants stood tall, surveying the battlefield. Buildings were damaged, but no lives had been lost among the Vorianites. Civilians emerged cautiously, inspired by the protection they had received. Alaric turned to Eliana. This is only the beginning. They will return stronger and smarter. We must prepare the Vorianites, teach them how to defend themselves and uncover any secrets the Marauders are hiding. Eliana nodded. Agreed, knowledge is as important as power. If we understand the enemy, we can prevent them from striking again. Ronan added, and we must continue to inspire the Vorianites. Courage spreads faster than fear. Today they saw the human edge, not just strength, but intelligence and heart combined. In the following hours, the giants moved through the city, coordinating defenses and instructing Vorianites in tactical thinking. Small squads were organized to monitor potential Marauder landings. Emergency response systems were upgraded, and the citizens began to see themselves not as helpless observers, but as participants in their own defense. While overseeing these preparations, Alaric discovered something unusual. A small group of Marauder scouts had been captured, attempting to gather intelligence about the city's defenses. The giants restrained them without causing harm and studied their technology carefully. Within minutes, Eliana deciphered part of their communication system, revealing that the Marauders were planning a more sophisticated attack, involving weapons capable of disabling planetary shields. This changes everything, Alaric said. We must act preemptively. If we wait for them to strike, it could be catastrophic. He quickly developed a plan. Using the information gained from the scouts, the giants set up countermeasures, reinforcing the city's shields and preparing traps for the Marauders' next wave. Every move was calculated, a combination of raw power and human strategy. The Vorianites assisted eagerly, learning from the humans as the preparation unfolded. By evening, the city was fortified. The humans had not only defended it from destruction, but had also prepared it for future attacks. The Vorianites now understood the human edge, the ability to combine strength with intelligence, courage with creativity, and power with strategy. They felt a growing confidence that their planet could survive the coming battles. As night fell over Voron 5, the stars glittered in the sky. The Marauders' fleet was still beyond the horizon, regrouping and planning. But the human war giants stood ready, towers of strength and wisdom, guardians of a planet that had begun to believe in hope. Commander Alaric looked down at the city below, watching the Vorinites move among the streets, preparing for whatever was to come. "Remember this," he said quietly. "Humans fight not only with their hands but with their minds. That is our edge. And today the Vorinites have learned it too. Together, we are unstoppable." With that, the giants settled into a watchful position, standing as silent sentinels over the city. The first wave had been repelled and the lessons had been taught. But the war was far from over. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles, and new opportunities for the humans to demonstrate the unique combination of courage, intelligence, and heart that had always made them legendary across the galaxy. The night passed quietly, but beneath the calm preparation continued. The human war giants, awakened by an SOS and guided by duty, stood ready to defend the silent planet once more. They were not only warriors, they were teachers, guardians, and beacons of hope. And as the stars shone brightly over Vorin 5, the planet itself seemed to recognize that something extraordinary had arrived, something that would change its destiny forever. The dawn over Vorin 5 was calm, almost serene, but beneath the tranquility lay tension. The Vorinites moved through the streets with cautious determination, repairing damage and reinforcing defenses under the guidance of the human war giants. Commander Alaric and Aliana led their teams through the city, assessing the aftermath of the previous day's battle. Despite the temporary victory, both knew the Marauders were planning something far more dangerous. Aliana paused near a damaged communication tower, her sensors scanning the horizon. "Commander," she said, "I'm detecting an energy signature unusual for this planet. It appears to be artificial and it's highly unstable." Alaric frowned. "Unstable energy in enemy territory is never a good sign. We need to investigate. It may be a weapon or a trap." The giants assembled near the edge of the forest that bordered the city. With the Vorinites assisting cautiously from a distance, Alaric led the team toward the energy signature. Their massive forms moved silently across the terrain, careful not to damage the delicate forests below. The Vorinites watched from the hills, inspired by the giants' focus and discipline. Every step demonstrated not only power but intelligence, showing that true strength included foresight and strategy. As the giants approached the source of the energy, they discovered a hidden facility, partially buried beneath the earth. Its architecture was alien, sleek and dark, with glowing conduits pulsating with energy. Alaric stepped forward, scanning the entrance. "This is the source," he said, "and it's active. They are preparing something." Ronan, the rapid strike giant, studied the facility. The energy levels are massive. Whatever it is, it could destroy the entire city, or even the planet if it's deployed fully. Aliana analyzed the facility's output. It appears to be a planetary disruption device. It uses concentrated energy to destabilize the ground and atmospheric systems. The Marauders must intend to use it as a last resort. Alaric's expression hardened. "Then we have no time. We cannot allow this weapon to activate. We destroy it or disable it, and ensure the Vorinites' survival." The giants moved forward carefully. Alaric and Aliana coordinated their attack, using their strength to breach the outer walls while analyzing the internal systems. Ronan and two others prepared energy nets and shockwave generators to neutralize any defenses inside. Every action was precise. The facility was designed to be lethal, and even the slightest mistake could trigger the device. Inside, they discovered the Marauder engineers at work, unaware of the giants' arrival. The aliens were confident, assuming their weapon was safe behind layers of security. But the humans were not ordinary defenders. They were strategic, adaptable, and intelligent. Alaric signaled, and the giants executed a coordinated strike. Energy shields blocked incoming fire, fists smashed control panels, and the Marauders found themselves overwhelmed by force and ingenuity combined. Aliana focused on the main console, scanning the complex wiring and energy flows. "This system is intricate," she said, "but it's not impossible to disable. If we redirect the energy through these conduits, it will overload without triggering the main device." Ronan moved to assist, his massive hands carefully manipulating the conduits while avoiding critical nodes. Sparks flew, alarms blared, but the system held steady. The Marauder engineers attempted to intervene, but the giants were faster, more precise and coordinated. Within moments, the main energy core began to destabilize, redirecting its destructive force safely into containment fields. Alaric watched the progress, his eyes narrowing. "Prepare to secure the facility. We cannot leave any part of this operational. The Marauders must not recover it. As the system shut down, a section of the facility opened, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside were records, devices, and star maps detailing the Marauders' plans across the galaxy. The humans analyzed the information immediately. Ileana's sensors scanned the files. They are targeting multiple planets, she said. This weapon is just one part of a much larger strategy. If we do not act, countless worlds will be in danger. Alaric's jaw tightened. Then our mission is clear. We protect Vorin 5 first, but we must also understand their plans fully. Knowledge is as important as strength. Meanwhile, the Vorinites had approached under the giant's supervision. Leora and Terran, the chief scientists, were particularly interested in the technology. They watched as the humans analyzed the Marauder systems, learning quickly how to use intelligence and creativity to counter threats. It was a lesson in human ingenuity, something the Vorinites had only heard about in legends. Now they witnessed it in action. This is remarkable, Leora said quietly to Terran. They are not only defending us, they are teaching us. I think we are finally seeing why humans are so legendary. Terran nodded. Yes, strength is part of it, but intelligence and courage are what make them truly unstoppable. Outside, the Marauders regrouped, unaware that their secret weapon had been neutralized. Their fleet gathered, preparing another assault, more cautious this time. Alaric and the Giants returned to the city to relay the news and adjust defenses. They explained the situation to the Vorinites, showing them how to monitor potential threats and reinforcing the importance of strategic thinking. As the Vorinites absorbed the lessons, the Giants organized the city's defenses for the anticipated assault. Energy barriers were reinforced, emergency systems upgraded, and civilians instructed on evacuation procedures in case of emergencies. The humans were not just fighters, they were teachers, imparting knowledge alongside protection. Night fell over Vorin 5, but the Giants remained vigilant. Scouts patrolled the city perimeter, reporting signs of Marauder activity. Commander Alaric stood on a hilltop, overlooking the illuminated streets. They have power, but we have intelligence, courage, and unity. That is our advantage. They may strike again, but they will not take this planet. Ileana joined him, her sensors sweeping the sky. The Vorinites have learned quickly. They are no longer helpless. With guidance, they can act decisively and contribute meaningfully to the defense. Ronan, leaning against a partially repaired wall, added, "It is inspiring to see them grow. The courage of humans spreads. Even the smallest creatures can become part of something greater when led wisely." Alaric nodded. Exactly. Today we neutralized a weapon, protected lives, and strengthened hope. The Marauders may return, but they will face a planet united, guided by humans. That is a lesson they cannot ignore. Throughout the night, the Giants continued to monitor the planet. They coordinated patrols, repaired defensive systems, and shared strategies with the Vorinites. The city, once fragile and fearful, was now organized, prepared, and resilient. The Vorinites understood for the first time that they were not entirely dependent on others for protection. They could act, think, and adapt under guidance. By dawn, Vorin 5 had transformed. The city streets were quiet, but the air was charged with anticipation. The Vorinites had learned lessons in courage, strategy, and ingenuity. They had seen the human war giants in action, and their confidence had grown. They were no longer mere spectators. They were participants in the planet's defense. Alaric addressed the group. Today we faced not just an enemy, but a lesson in preparedness. We have shown the Marauders that intelligence, courage, and unity are as powerful as any weapon. The Vorinites have seen the human edge, and they will carry it forward. Ileana added, we must remain vigilant. The Marauders will not give up easily, and we must be ready. But now they know that humans, together with allies, can overcome any challenge. Ronan, looking over the city, smiled faintly. And the Vorinites have learned that courage is contagious. Even the smallest actions can make a difference when guided wisely. That is the true power of humans. The first major threat had been neutralized and the secret weapon destroyed. But the war was far from over. The Marauders were still out there, preparing for their next strike. Yet Vorin 5 was no longer helpless. The city was fortified, the people inspired, and the human war giants had proven that strength combined with intelligence, strategy, and courage could overcome any challenge. As the sun rose over the horizon, casting golden light over the city and forests, the giants stood tall, vigilant, and ready. The silent planet was no longer silent. It was alive with hope, knowledge, and determination, and the legend of human courage. Ingenuity and strength grew even stronger, echoing across the galaxy like a beacon of light in the dark. Voren 5 had seen the true edge of humans, and nothing would ever be the same again.